It was early morning in the luxurious streets of Los Angeles. Expensive cars glided past glistening storefronts, people sipped their coffees at trendy cafes, and the city bustled with energy. But amidst all the opulence, a family sat huddled on the sidewalk, completely detached from this world of extravagance. The mother clutched a thin, worn-out blanket around her, holding her two children close. The little girl nestled into her mother's side, her eyelids heavy with exhaustion. The father sat silently, guarding a few plastic bags, his gaze fixed on the ground. Passers-by either ignored them completely or shot them disdainful looks. At that moment, a black SUV slowed down and pulled over. Inside, Ellen DeGeneres sat, casually scrolling through her phone. She happened to glance out the window, and suddenly, she froze. A family, sitting on the sidewalk, with their children. Ellen immediately put her phone down. A strange feeling stirred inside her. She had seen scenes like this before, but this felt different. The hopelessness in the children's eyes hit her like a punch to the gut. "Pull over," she said firmly. The car stopped. Her security guard turned to her. "Are you sure?" Ellen didn't take her eyes off the family. "Open the door." The door opened and she stepped out. The father slowly lifted his head, his tired eyes meeting Ellen's. "Hi, I'm Ellen," she said gently. The man's voice was hoarse when he responded. "I've seen you on TV." Ellen smiled faintly, but the sadness on his face quickly wiped it away. She knelt down to the children's level. The little girl flinched and clung to her mother. "What are you doing out here?" The man looked away. His wife took a deep breath. "They threw us out." The father's voice cracked. "Just because we're black." Ellen's expression darkened. She inhaled deeply. This wasn't just an encounter anymore. This was about justice. Ellen tried to process what she had just heard. Her eyes flickered back to the children. They were shivering. The little girl curled deeper into her mother's coat for warmth. A wave of anger surged through Ellen. "What exactly happened?" she asked, her voice now laced with determination. The man exhaled slowly, his eyes weary from years of struggle. "We lived in that building for years. We paid our rent on time. We never caused trouble. Then one morning, management told us we had to leave. The reason? There wasn't one." Ellen furrowed her brows. "Did you go to the police?" The woman nodded. "Yes, but the landlord used the private property law against us. The police said there was nothing we could do. Every black family in the building was given an eviction notice. The white residents, they all got to stay." Ellen held her breath. Her eyes burned with frustration. The little girl clung to her mother and whispered, "Mommy, will we ever have a room again?" That question cut through Ellen like a knife. She felt her throat tighten. A child should never have to wonder if they'd have a place to sleep. She stood up, shoving her hands into her pockets, nodding to herself. "This won't end like this." The man looked at her in surprise. "What do you mean?" Ellen's eyes narrowed with determination. "The whole world is going to hear about this." There was no turning back now. The next day, Ellen wasted no time. She alerted her team. This was something she wasn't going to let slide. First, she hired a lawyer to investigate the family's legal rights, but that was only the beginning. Later that day, she took to social media. Posting a photo she had taken, she wrote, "Today I met a family. A little girl asked me, 'Will we ever have a room again?' Tell me, should a child ever have to ask that?" The post went viral. Thousands shared it. The media picked up the story, but the real move hadn't been made yet. The following day, Ellen addressed the issue directly, on live television. "You all know that I've been doing this show for years. We started with comedy, but today, I have nothing funny to say." The audience fell silent, a rare moment of complete stillness in a room that was usually filled with laughter and applause. Ellen began telling the family's story, how they had been forcibly removed from their home, how systemic discrimination had left them helpless, how injustice was still alive and well. But the moment that hit the hardest? "I still hear that little girl's voice in my head. Will we ever have a room again? And that is why I refuse to let this go." The reaction was immediate. The audience was in shock. Celebrities, activists, and influencers started speaking out, amplifying Ellen's call for action. But the strongest response? It came from the family's landlord and the apartment management. Ellen received a formal warning, telling her to back off, claiming she was blowing things out of proportion. But it was too late. Ellen wasn't going anywhere. "From now on, you won't be the one speaking. We will." And just like that, things spiraled out of control. Ellen's broadcast had created a massive ripple effect. Social media exploded with thousands of people using the hashtag #WillWeaverHaveARoomAgain, demanding justice and accountability. But the real breakthrough came through Ellen's legal team. Investigations revealed that the apartment management had systematically been evicting Black tenants for years, under the guise of policy changes. In the meantime, Ellen arranged temporary housing for the family at a hotel. But she knew that wasn't enough. A bigger step had to be taken. So she launched a fundraising campaign. The goal? Not just to help this one family, but to fight housing discrimination and support others facing similar injustices. This isn't just about one family. Hundreds of thousands of people in America lose their homes simply because of the color of their skin. We have the power to change that. The campaign took off like wildfire. Celebrities, business leaders, and athletes joined in. Within days, millions of dollars had been raised. But as the donations poured in, the family's belongings still sat outside their former apartment building, untouched, abandoned, until one morning, a large moving truck pulled up. Ellen was there in person. The driver stepped out, handing her a document. "Ms. DeGeneres, everything is ready." She took the paper, smiled, and turned to the family. The mother clutched her children, hopeful but hesitant. "I found a home for you, but not just any home." Ellen pulled out a key and handed it to the father. "This is yours, forever." The man stood frozen. The mother gasped. The children squealed in excitement and clung to each other. Tears streamed down the woman's face as she embraced Ellen. How did you do this for us?" Ellen simply smiled, because no one should ever be homeless just because of their skin color. As the fundraising campaign continued, the lawsuit against the apartment management gained traction, public pressure intensified, and state officials were forced to take notice. And just like that, the door to real legislative change had been opened. But for now, the biggest victory was that one family no longer had to live on the streets. A few weeks later, Ellen visited the family in their new home. The little girl ran into her room, excitedly showing off her toys. "Look, I finally have my own room!" Ellen chuckled, watching the pure joy in the child's eyes. The parents, standing nearby, had tears in their eyes, not of sadness, but gratitude. But for Ellen, this was only the beginning. The overwhelming support from the fundraising campaign had allowed hundreds of families across the country to secure permanent housing. More importantly, the fight for policy reform was gaining momentum. And finally, after months of pressure, lawmakers introduced a new bill to strengthen protections against housing discrimination. On the day of the official announcement, Ellen took the stage during her show. "This isn't one person's victory. This is all of ours. When we unite our voices, we can change the world." The audience erupted in applause. As Ellen scanned the crowd, her eyes landed on one familiar face. Sitting in the front row, smiling brightly, was the little girl. And in that moment, Ellen knew this wasn't just a story about kindness. This was about justice, and it had changed the world.